Good evening, everyone. Mike Palmer from Know Your Rights Group and Success Coaching International with another very important live video update tonight. So it seems as though pretty much every video that I've done of late seems to have something to do with new fines being imposed, new ways for the various governments to raise even more revenue. Mind you, the road toll just continues to rise in most states. So clearly these revenue raising tactics have nothing at all to do with actual road safety of any kind. Take this next article and this lovely tactic that they're bringing in now. One government is now actually threatening people with fines of up to $3,300, and they don't even have to be driving. Okay, I mean, this is how desperate they are. So this is an interesting article, especially if anyone's got or knows anyone who's got an e-scooter. Make sure you check this one out. It says, warning, over $3,300 road fine Aussies can receive without being in a car. Experts agree e-scooters are a sustainable and effective way of travelling, but governments around the country remain at odds over their use. As Australia's most populous state deliberates legalising the controversial e-scooter merely weeks after other jurisdictions banned the devices, a prominent solicitor has warned of steep fines in place for those caught misusing them. In New South Wales, e-scooters can be legally purchased but cannot be used on public streets or footpaths. Privately owned scooters can only be ridden on private property. Shared e-scooters can be ridden in some parts of the state under a trial program, including in parts of Kogarah, Albury, Foster and Wollongong. It's this blind spot that the state government seeks to close under draft legislation released on Monday. The 58 proposed actions include exploring the possibility of legalising e-scooter use on streets and roads, requiring the use of a helmet and banning e-scooters for under 16s. Speaking to Yahoo News Australia, Sydney lawyer Avanish Singh agreed with Halen's remarks. She said the rule meant many residents using the devices currently risk fines between $344 and $3,300 if they're found to have ridden them inappropriately. In my experience, most people are shocked to find out that e-scooters are illegal to ride in New South Wales. The most common complaint we hear is that there is a lack of information provided by the government about them being illegal to ride. An e-scooter cannot be registered in New South Wales because they are illegal to ride and there is no scheme under which they are regulated or registered. See, this is all it's about. Schemes for registration and regulation. Money and control, money and control. That's all it's about. In the state, a person can be fined $686 for using an unregistered or uninsured e-scooter, but they say there's no scheme to register it. So, I mean, that just makes no sense. In addition to $344 for not wearing an approved helmet, $572 for driving unlicensed. Can you get a scooter license? Really? Not so sure. And an incredible $3,300 for driving one while suspended or disqualified. What? So if you got your driver's license suspended, you can't ride a scooter? That's what you're going to get a $3,300 fine for? I mean, come on, people. The proposal would force e-scooter riders to give way to pedestrians on shared paths. Well, that's fair enough. That makes sense. And adhere to a 20-kilometre speed limit on shared and bike paths and on the roads. Well, that doesn't make much sense. If everyone's driving 60 or 70 k's, why would you be doing only 20? That to me sounds dangerous. Riders would also be subject to a 0.05 blood alcohol limit and relegated to roads with a 50-kilometre speed limit, despite many e-scooters being able to reach up to 100 kilometres an hour. Why? As many as 459,000 e-scooters and 570,000 e-bikes were in use across New South Wales, the state government said, with 91% of people saying they were convenient for travel. So you want people not to use their cars, you want people to stop polluting because of climate change and all that stuff. So here's a solution, but you don't want people taking advantage of that solution. I mean, make up your mind, government. In Queensland, WA and ACT, e-scooters are permitted to travel at maximum speeds of 25 kilometres an hour on bike paths, shared paths, local roads, with reduced limits on footpaths. In New South Wales and South Australia, privately owned e-scooters are not permitted on public roads or paths. In Victoria, e-scooters were recently banned within the City of Melbourne LGA, which encompasses the CBD and inner city, but Victorians are still able to use them in other areas. In Tasmania, permit holders can use e-scooters to travel up to 15 kilometres an hour on footpaths and 25 kilometres an hour on roads and cycle paths. It is all over the place, people. Absolutely all over the place. I mean, what we see here is clearly a system of over-regulation that just results in total confusion and nobody knows what they're supposed to be doing. And of course, rather than embracing this new sustainable technology, which is what they keep prattling on about, okay, all they're interested in doing is trying to regulate it and register it, i.e. get money off people and control them somehow. Why not just let people take responsibility for their own actions? And of course, as with anything in life, if they hit someone or harm someone or hit something or damage something or anything like that, then of course they should be punished accordingly. But otherwise, as long as they're not hurting anyone or hurting anything, what exactly is the issue? Because the government loves control. Okay, it's always just about control and money, nothing to do with anything such as actual safety. Now, speaking of control, they're trying to exercise even more now in WA as they bring the state's P plate laws in line with most of the other states in the country already. So if you or anyone you know is a P plater in WA, you might want to be aware of this article. Which says big changes coming to the state's P-plate laws. Red P-platers in Western Australia will soon be restricted to carrying just one passenger in a bid to drive down the youth road toll. Almost every Australian state and territory will soon have restrictions on how many passengers certain provisional licence holders can carry. From December the 1st, 2024, so just a few weeks away, motorists in Western Australia with a Class P1 provisional licence, which is red P plates, will be limited to carrying one passenger following the introduction of Tom's Law, named after Tom Safiotti, who was killed alongside Nick Campo when the car they were being driven in by a red P-plater crashed with 5 passengers on board. The new regulations were aimed at reducing the risk for some of the most inexperienced licence holders while behind the wheel. Well, how about sending them on advanced driver training courses or defensive driver training courses and then give them rewards for completing those courses? That might make them safer drivers, but no, there's no money in that. This way they can get money out of them by issuing them fines. When the new regulations are introduced, new and existing red P-platers will only be able to carry more than one passenger if said occupants have either been fully licensed for 4 or more years or immediate family members, or they're required to drive due to the driver's employment. If caught with more than one passenger outside of the exemptions, drivers can face $200 and receive 2 demerit points. The same penalty as breaching the state's red P-plate curfew, which runs from midnight to 5 a.m. This is sounding a lot like good old Dan Andrews at work. I mean, curfews, really? What happens if someone works, night shift and they're a P-plater? They're not allowed to drive home? I mean, I understand the concept. They don't want people going out to parties and getting drunk and driving, but drunk driving and driving late at night, if you're perfectly awake, are 2 completely different things. West Australia's new passenger restrictions coincide with the expansion of its Safe Driver Reward program for P-platers. Oh, hello. Hang on. Someone's found a brain. At present, the program incentivises safe driving by awarding P-platers with a free full licence for 12 months, provided they don't rack up any demerit points throughout their 2-year probation period. Hallelujah, someone's finally thinking. The revised scheme will see the demerit-free period extended to 3 years, at which point drivers will receive a $100 discount off their 5-year full licence, which currently costs $163.50. So, finally, a government with a little bit of a brain, okay, that understands the importance of incentivising people to do what they want rather than just, blatantly punishing people all the time. Now, this, of course, is a point that the Aussie speeding fines guys have raised in their book for many, many years now. And as I mentioned before, why not reward or incentivise people who choose to complete a defensive driver training course or an advanced driver training course, which is obviously going to make you a safer driver? Why not give them a percentage back of the registration that you just, exponentially increase things by over the last 5 years? Okay, so if you want to know more about that concept or some of the other concepts that these guys would like to see brought in, make sure you read this book, and in particular, there it is, in particular chapter 1, because that goes into a lot of detail about the processes and strategies that they'd like to see brought in. I mean, obviously the book has the strategies for beating unjust fines, but it's a lot more than that. They want to make driving safer and more enjoyable, of course, for all road users. So, as always, you'll find a link in the description or in the comments. So, if you don't yet have that book, make sure you grab it. Now, that brings me to the next article for tonight, and that is actually at the opposite end of the age spectrum, where the government is now trying to bring in mandatory driver training for anyone over the age of 50. Now, I'm sure many of you watching this video will fall into that category, so I urge you to have a look at this article. So it is entitled, When You Turn 50, calls for older Aussies to take refresher driving lessons. With older drivers exhibiting higher crash rates than middle-aged drivers, I kind of thought 50 was middle-aged. Maybe I'm out of touch, who knows. Does Australia need to mandate more driver training later in life? Well, which is it? Is it middle of life or later in life? They've got to make up their mind if they want to have any hope of pushing this through. A new University of New South Wales initiative is seeking to combat the higher rate of car crashes amongst drivers over 80. Then why bring in mandatory driver training at 50 if they're worried about people over 80? Again, they can't get their ducks in a row at all. By advocating for refresher driving lessons for Australians once they turn 50. UNSW Sydney and Neuroscience Research Australia recently completed a 12-month study to examine whether drivers over 65 would benefit from driving intervention, including lessons and feedback on their errors. While the study's final results are yet to be released, the early findings suggest the drivers who received the intervention reduced their driving errors and moved from being unsafe to safe drivers. We know that older drivers have higher rates of crashes than middle-aged drivers, and we see an uptick of crashes, particularly in the over 80s. Karin Anstey, an expert in cognitive aging, said. It could be something like when you turn 50, you're invited to have an extra driving lesson just to check in on your driving. At the moment, you'd only get that if you had something wrong with your driving. I'd be better to make it a normal part of life. So again, it seems to all be about control. Again, I understand what they're doing. I understand the concept, but again, you can't keep making these things mandatory and imposing them on people. Why does it have to be mandatory? Okay, why not again offer incentives for people to complete these courses if they truly believe that they are that valuable? Again, why not offer a percentage off your registration? They've just hiked it up exponentially over the last 4 or 5 years. So just give a little bit of it back that they've just taken off you. Okay. What about insurance companies maybe providing some sort of an incentive or a discount to drivers who complete such a refresher course? Again, why do they have to impose their will on the majority because of the actions of just a few? And I know this is going to sound completely wild and crazy to some of you out there, but how about instead of focusing on the unfortunate actions of a very few very young or very few very old drivers, how about they focus their attention on basically every single road in this country, which is currently falling apart, full of potholes, and is far more dangerous than the majority of drivers out there actually using them. Now, things are bad all over the country. We obviously did our live events and travelled, to pretty much every state this year. But they are particularly bad in Victoria, where, of course, the government is crying poor and claiming that they've got no money left to repair the roads. So there's a couple of articles that I'm going to share with you on this, and I'm sure anyone who's in Victoria is well aware of the state of the roads. But this one is, of course, quite simply entitled, Victoria's Road to Ruin. Earlier this year, former Treasury economist Stephen Anthony encapsulated the Victorian government's running of the state with the following remarks. Victoria is on a suicide mission to record borrowing just as global interest rates are about to hit 5%. Potholes can't get filled, emergency departments can't afford clean linen, primary schools can't fix heaters. Things are about to get very ugly. Anthony's comments come amid an explosion in state debt. The two biggest credit rating agencies then warned that Victoria risked further downgrades if it didn't get its debt under control. Anthony's claim that potholes can't get filled was not hyperbole. The Herald Sun reported that repair works on Victorian roads have been slashed by 2/3 in a bid to save on costs, prompting warning that motorists will see massive deteriorations across the road network. which of course is exactly what's going on. The damning figures show that resurfacing works for the next 12 months have plummeted by more than 65% on regional roads, which of course is where most of the accidents occur, and 25% in metropolitan Melbourne in just 3 years. That meant that the 9 million square metres of road that was being treated to fix and protect against rain and potholes in regional Victoria in 2023 has now dropped by 2/3 to 3.1 million square kilometres in this year's budget. On Melbourne's suburban roadworks, 729 square metres of works were done in 2022-23 compared to 542 square metres budgeted for 24-25. Justin Bartlett, Managing Director of VSA Roads, regional Victoria's largest supplier of quarried bitumen, warned that Victoria's roads are deteriorating at an alarming rate, are no longer resilient, and even a major rain event will create more potholes. He also said the lack of maintenance will lead to an exponential spend down the track. We've already seen an exponential increase in potholes, and it's only going to get worse. Now, that was followed up just the other week by this article from the Herald Sun, which says much the same thing. Maintenance of Victoria's crumbling road network has fallen to record lows, with repair work slashed by a staggering 95% last financial year, new figures have confirmed. It means maintenance works were completed on road areas the size of 21 MCGs last year compared to 450 MCGs the year prior. The chronic failure to keep up with the state's road maintenance program was laid bare in the latest Department of Transport Planning annual report. The report also revealed concerning delays in work being completed, with only 39% of metropolitan projects and 69% of regional projects being finished on time. So, I mean, this is a sad state of affairs, and the reality is it's only going to get worse. Now, of course, perhaps if that moron, Dan Andrews, who still, of course, needs to be held to account for the disastrous decisions that he imposed on Victorians, maybe if he didn't pay $1 billion to not build a road, i.e. the East-West Link Road, then maybe, perhaps, the government might have some more money to fix the existing roads. I mean, just a thought. How on earth do they justify spending $1 billion to not build a road, to cancel a contract, and then cry poor that they've got no money to fix the existing roads? It's just insanity. These are the people that run our states. This is government. And they want to build a statue to this muppet. Shake my head. And, unfortunately, it appears as though they've not only run out of money to fix the roads, but they've also run out of money to pay the police to help keep the roads safe, as they claim that they do. So, again, anyone in Victoria, I'm sure, will have heard about this. There was a strike on today. This was the lead up to it. Learn self-defence. Slogans written on Victoria Police cars ahead of strike over pay dispute. A message on a Victoria Police car has caused a stir online as officers prepared to walk off the job for the first time in 25 years. Cops in Victoria have been encouraged by union bosses to stop work for 30 minutes on Thursday, 2 months after it rejected the state government's latest offer of a 3% pay rise and a 9-day fortnight. Learn self-defence. We might be a while, EB24, the message shared on Reddit. Aren't these the same guys I've seen on the other side of every Labor protest that has ever happened, one person commented. Learn self-defence, but don't carry anything that you could protect yourself with, another said. Yep. Every time I've needed help from a cop, they've done absolutely nothing. So yeah, I would advise everyone to learn self-defence, a third wrote. Other slogans written on police cars in support of the proposed industrial action include, "We can't turn out if we burn out," with some targeting Victoria Police Commissioner Shane Patton, such as "End of the pattern of wage theft" and "Our chief the wage thief." The union has been locked in 18 months of negotiations involving more than 100 meetings with demands for 6% annual pay rises over 4 years and new 8.5-hour shifts, which would leave officers with an extra 14 days off a year. More than 1,000 vacancies, a worrying attrition rate, and hundreds of police off on long-term sick leave means they're doing more work than they ever have for less. Now they're taking back some of a precious commodity that their employer has taken from a long time for free. Their time. The public needn't be concerned about that their safety will be compromised. Our members will always have the back of their community. Really? Were they really, though? Were they there having the back of the community during COVID? not so much. The community is certainly not the target here. No, they were the target back in COVID. Not now, though. Good to know. In fact, their support has been appreciated by our members. The target here is the employer and the government. Well, I mean, I guess it's nice to know that they're not taking it out on us for once. That's, very positive. But look, let me make it clear, right now. I don't hate cops. I don't have anything against cops, as I explain at all of our live events. I actually worked myself for Victoria Police for 13 years. I've seen a lot of changes over that time. But I would like to make some observations, and I would like to provide a little bit of perspective as I try and do on these video updates. So, firstly, that 30-minute strike that was referenced in that article occurred today. But here's the thing. It started off at the police academy, which just doesn't make any sense to me. So here's the article, and there's the picture of all the police cadets turning out in force for 30 minutes. So this is what it says. Victoria police officers walk off the job in pay dispute with Allen government. Hundreds of furious police officers have walked off the job in an escalating pay dispute, warning the strike could roll on into the future. The strike kicked off at the Police Academy in Glen Waverley, about 25 kilometres east of the Melbourne CBD on Thursday morning, with uniformed officers and cadets marching out on a work stoppage. Officers held up a large banner reading "Breaking Point" and signs reading "Overworked, Undervalued." Now, maybe I'm missing something, okay? Maybe I'm not connecting some dots, okay? But can someone please explain how the cadets, okay, who are still just doing their training and haven't actually done any actual police work yet, how are they burnt out? Okay, that just seems to be a very incongruent way to kick off this message that they seem to be trying to get across. Why would you use cadets to get a message across that all police officers are burnt out? That doesn't really add up. Now, secondly, the police say that they're overworked and underappreciated because other police officers kept leaving the force. Well, seriously, is it any wonder? When the government instructs you to round up innocent people who are simply taking a stand for their bodies and their health, and worse still, instructs you to arrest, attack, and even shoot unarmed civilians, then I'm sorry, okay? A, you're just not doing yourself any favours, okay? And B, with all due respect, you should have left too, not stayed on and then complained about how you're overworked and unappreciated, okay? Come on, girls and guys in blue. Have a backbone, stand up and walk away, okay? Don't sit there complaining. Now, this harks back to my success coaching background, okay? This is not only applicable to Victoria Police members, but to anybody out there who's watching this that feels stuck somewhere where they're underappreciated. Whether it's your workplace, whether it's a relationship or any other situation, okay? If the other person or the other people involved do not appreciate you, okay, and they're not prepared to reward or compensate you in a way that you believe is fair, just walk away. Okay, there is no point banging your head against a brick wall trying to convince them of what you're worth. Okay, and in fact, when you actually do that, you're showing them that you don't actually believe in your true worth, because if you did, you would just move on to someone or something else that does. So again, I want to make this crystal clear. I'm not in any way, shape or form having a go at police. Okay, I'm genuinely offering what I believe to be solid, productive advice to help people who feel stuck, undervalued or unappreciated, no matter what the situation. Okay, if you feel that way, okay, then stand up for what you believe in. Stand up for yourself. Remove yourself from that negative situation and go and forge a new path and show the world who you are and what you're worth. Okay? Trust me, over the past few years, I've had a bunch of people come up to me, truck drivers, posties, nurses, even police officers who've come up and thanked me for giving them the courage, okay, to stand up for their beliefs during COVID, standing their ground against the jabs, irrespective of what, the result might have been for their jobs. So this is no different. Okay, if you're not valued where you are, move on. Okay, and to prove how genuine I am right now, if there are any police officers out there watching this, if it's been forwarded on to you or you're a police officer and you're concerned about this situation, please feel free to contact me, okay, and I'll be happy to do a 15, 20-minute coaching session with you to help you out and to help you overcome this, because this information is there for everybody, okay, and I really want to push this point home. If you're not being appreciated, if you're not being valued, then just move on. All right, now, speaking of pay and money, the next article that I want to cover is in regard to the Bendigo Bank, who recently announced that they're going to start charging customers for conducting over-the-counter transactions. Now, Bendigo Bank have often touted themselves as the better bank, but as this article I'm about to go through details, that just doesn't seem to be the case anymore. So if you didn't hear about this, please make sure you read the article. Aussie bank sparks outrage as fee introduced to withdraw cash over the counter. Bendigo and Adelaide Bank will be introducing a new fee for customers who want to conduct over-the-counter services when they visit a branch. I mean, God forbid you might want to speak to a person and interact with a human and get money from them. I mean, what are you thinking? From 1st of November, so it's already come into play, customers who have accounts with Australia's most trusted bank will be charged $2.50 if they visit a branch and withdraw their money over the counter. Whatever happened to it? Your money, Ralph? Oh, that's right, it's a different bank. My bad. A spokesperson for the bank told Yahoo Finance that this move is being brought in because the banking system is evolving as digital payments become more popular. Well, if they're more popular, then there should be less people making this request, so you shouldn't need to charge them. You should be paying them for doing it. I mean, does this make any sense to anyone? They added that bank staff will be ready to answer any questions about the change. Yes, my question is, if everyone's moving to digital payments, why do you need to charge people for over-the-counter transactions? Please explain. Bendigo Bank is introducing some changes to its fees and charges in order to meet the evolving needs of our customers. But it seems not. Because if most of your customers are going to digital payments, you're not meeting the needs of the customers that still need to use those over-the-counter services. So what you're telling there is complete rubbish. And deliver on our vision to be Australia's bank of choice. Well, they're not delivering very well. Customers are not happy about the change. Well, that seems to be the understatement when you see what they're saying. Even though the bank is trying to offset the damage with the new fee, customers are raging. Many have taken to social media to rip into Bendigo and Adelaide for slapping on a charge to get their own money, with one going as far as calling it un-effing Australian. That's daylight robbery. It's my effing money, wrote an enraged customer. It's disgraceful they are charging $250 to withdraw our own money. This will affect the elderly who rely on being able to feel safe withdrawing their money in a bank and actually talking to a human. Hello, our most vulnerable and our most needy customers, and you're just completely ignoring them. $2.50, a bottle of milk or some fruit for many people struggling. I'm so disappointed in Bendigo Bank for this outright greed, said another. I just opened with them, but now we'll be talking to them and closing the account, added a third. So seems like people are not happy, and it doesn't seem like Bendigo Bank are actually listening to their customers, or certainly haven't been up to this point. And again, I'm just not sure how charging customers for something that they used to be able to do for free is in any way an evolution of anything as they claim it is. But hopefully they do take on the feedback from their customers, and I certainly hope that any Bendigo Bank customers out there watching this make their thoughts known very politely, but also very clearly, exactly how they feel about Bendigo Bank clearly towing the cashless agenda line. All right, the final article that I want to cover before I wind up tonight is following on directly from our discussions on Tuesday night's show. And of course, we discussed the result of the US elections and the very important ramifications of those. Now, just by the way, if anyone missed it, this Tuesday night show was our huge 400th show. So a major milestone show. Not only do we cover a lot of important topics, but we also explain what we need feedback from our members on so that we can make plans for next year. So please do be sure to listen to that show So if you missed it live on Tuesday, as always, it has been uploaded to our podcast area for all of our podcast members to access. So getting back to the next article, though, it does seem like despite only being elected a week ago, Trump is already making some major political waves, especially with regards to his plans for Elon Musk and this elimination of governmental waste, which of course is exactly what we need someone to do in this country. So if Trump gets this message, please lend us Elon once you're done with him. But this is a very interesting article, and I gave my thoughts on the Trump-Elon connection on the last video I did, and things are definitely ramping up. So this one's entitled, Trump Names Elon Musk to Role Leading Government Efficiency Drive. US President-elect Donald Trump on Tuesday named Elon Musk to a role aimed at creating a more efficient government, handing even more influence to the world's richest man who donated millions of dollars to helping Trump get elected. Musk and former Republican presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy will co-lead a newly created Department of Government Efficiency, an entity Trump indicated will operate outside the confines of government. Trump said in a statement that Musk and Ramaswamy will pave the way for my administration to dismantle government bureaucracy, slash excess regulations, cut wasteful expenditures, and restructure federal agencies. The new department would work with the White House and Office of Management and Budget to drive large-scale structural reform and create an entrepreneurial approach to government never seen before. The work would conclude by July 4th, 2026, the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. So this is a very big, very bold plan. It is sure to ruffle more than just a few of the high-ups in the good old three-letter agencies. And I, for one, wouldn't be at all surprised if we hear of another attempt on Trump's life sometime between now and when he officially takes office in January. But in the meantime, hopefully he stays safe, and he's certainly off to a very solid start. So long may it continue. All right, so finally, to finish off, I'm going to go through the latest testimonials that we've received from our members, and there's been a bunch come through this week, and of course cover some of the latest memes to get people thinking as well. So the first one was sent through from one of our members. Yet again, this is another actual court order. As you can see, it's from the Broadmeadows Magistrates Court. It's from just the other day, the 11th of November, and as you can see, that is the actual court order, and it says struck out, withdrawn. So again, here's somebody who's clearly followed, okay, that three-step process from chapter 3 of that Aussie Speeding Fines book. Okay, they've taken the matter to court, and the court has struck out or withdrawn the matter. So this process absolutely does work, just as these guys have been explaining for the last 17 years that it does, if you keep standing your ground, if you keep sticking to the arguments. Here's another similar one from a lady, Nicole, who's got a withdrawal letter from New South Wales Revenue, or Revenue New South Wales, what do they call themselves? Hi guys, got this response immediately after, so my last minute review worked. See attached letter from New South Wales Revenue. So relieved I can now focus on more important pressing issues. Thanking you for your help. Kind regards, Nicole. It says, dear Ms. blah blah blah, we're writing to you with your contact with us regarding penalty notice such and such and such and such. There's two of them. Our investigation conclude that fines such and such and such and such have been cancelled. Payment of those fines is no longer required. You do not need to take any further action in relation to those fines. So there it is, clearly in black and white. Yet another member who's followed that three-step Aussie Speeding Fines process has written in and has had those fines withdrawn. So again, you'll find links in the description. Now this is one a little bit different. This is from a lady, Suzanne. She wrote into us asking what she could do. She said she had elderly parents that were paying their rent by Australia Post. They're putting cash in at Australia Post, and all of a sudden their rental agency said no, they couldn't do that anymore. And so we gave her a few tips on what to do. And so she's written back to us, hello, wonderful KYR team. Regarding my parents' rent below, within 3 hours of writing the real estate agent a letter, in brackets notice, they emailed back saying my parents can now pay at the post office as per usual. Your advice gave me the confidence to act, so truly appreciate all you guys do. So true to your motto, if you don't know your rights, you don't have any. So, again, what she's talking about there, of course, is our Know Your Rights book, the essential step-by-step manual for understanding and exercising your rights. And that book explains why those who don't know their rights have none. Okay, you have to understand what they are before you can possibly exercise them. So again, if you don't yet have that book, you'll find a link in the description. Please do make sure you grab a copy. All right, so just to finish off with some memes. Yes, I like this one, and hopefully something that we will see continuing more and more. Of course, the demise of the mainstream media who lied and cheated until the very end. Yes, I like this one too. Anyone who has children, especially if your children are sort of hitting the teenage years, and you do hear about them talking to their friends about some of the so-called conspiracy theories that you've taught them about, it's a very heartwarming moment for sure. And while we're on the subject of the good old conspiracy theories, here's another one when conspiracy theorists watching people catching up. So, people are still catching on, and that's why we keep doing these videos every week, and we keep asking people to please share these around as far and as wide as you can. I know it can be frustrating at times, but there are still people that are just still now waking up and cottoning on to some of these concepts and wanting, of course, to learn about the truth and about their rights and how to stand up for them. So do share them around. And then this final one is a little snippet from Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who says the FDA's war on public health is about to end. This includes its aggressive suppression of psychedelics, peptides, stem cells, raw milk, hyperbaric therapies, chelating compounds, ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, vitamins, clean food, sunshine, exercise. Oh, geez, such conspiracy theories. Nutraceuticals and anything else that advances human health and can't be patented by pharma. If you work for the FDA and are part of this corrupt system, I have two messages for you. Number one, preserve your records, and number two, pack your bags. So great stuff, and we certainly hope to see more from Robert Kennedy and the Trump administration once he officially takes office in January. So I'm going to leave things there for tonight. As always, I do urge you to please make use of all of the resources that are available to you to please get informed, get fired up, and get proactive. We really need people taking action. As always, these videos are completely free to watch. You'll find them on the videos tab on our Facebook page, on our BitChute channel, and of course on our YouTube channel as well. Just a reminder, there's no live radio show next week, but we will be back the following Tuesday. If you have missed any of our 400 radio shows, you can join up as a podcast member for less than $5 a week and access all of our past podcasts, all of the transcripts for the podcast, all of the show notes for each podcast. It's all there for our members. Of course, if you want to go above and beyond that, we do recommend our book, The Essential Step-by-Step Manual for Understanding and Exercising Your Rights. Also, that Aussie Speeding Fines book for challenging all manner of unjust and unlawful fines. And, of course, the Bank Secrets Revealed book, which does give you that tried, tested and proven 4-step process for discharging any unsecured loans. That's your credit cards, personal loans. They can be wiped off, written off, just by sending those letters. So you'll find links in the description to get these individually. Of course, you can get them as part of the combo pack. We do have the tote bag that we include as a little bonus, no extra charge. Don't forget, we do have our caps. The warmer weather is finally upon us, so grab your caps. People see the logo, they come up, have a chat. It's a great way to meet other like-minded people that are on the same page, on the same wavelength. Of course, as I mentioned before, we have completed our live events now for this year. We are working on the webinar concept for next year. We'd love people's thoughts and comments on that. In the meantime, if you missed the events or if you want a refresher, do grab a copy of our home study course. It is a complete recording of one of those 2.5-day events. There's 3 custom-made workbooks. There's sections there to write notes next to every single slide from every single presentation. All those presentations are covered on 17 customized DVDs. There's a CD with all the documents that we're use. You can pause, rewind, fast forward in the comfort of your own home at your own pace. It is a fantastic resource that you'll come back to again and again. All right, that is it for me. I hope you all have a fantastic weekend. We will be doing a replay show of our 400th show next Tuesday. So if you missed it, we will be replaying that on Tuesday night. Otherwise, I'll be back next Thursday night for our next live video update. Until then, take care. Good night.